You are now watching the Vision News Network, your home for news on world evangelism all around the world. Please enjoy today's episode.
Hi, this is Noah Combs, your host with the Vision News Network. I'd like to take the opportunity to tell you about what's going on with missionaries all around the world. We go first to Dustin Brown, the church planter to Turkey, as he gives us an update on the mistreatment of Muslims in China and tells us how we can pray for the people there.
It's being reported today that recently in the country of China, there was a young Turkish nationalist who was traveling through the Chinese airport. He was taken aside and he was questioned by the police, and he was actually detained for about 38 days, supposedly. By the end of it, finding out that the reason he was detained was because he was a Muslim. Right now, in the country of China, there's a large population of a group of people called the Uyghur people. They're Muslim Chinese people who are from the Western China area, and they are being detained. They are being jailed currently in China. I would ask that you would pray for the country of Turkey as well as the Uyghur people in China, that they would not be detained in jail, but that they would be reached by the freedom of the gospel. This is another one of those issues that causes the fear of Islamophobia, and it could harden the hearts of Muslims around the world. Now, of course, in China, this is not because of Christianity that they're experiencing Islamophobia. It's because of the government and the way that the government is ran. But still, sadly enough, these folks are sitting in sitting in jails when they should be being reached with the gospel. We'd ask that you would pray for the Uyghur people in Western China. We'd ask that you would pray for Turks in the country of Turkey, that God would use these persecutions against Muslims to open up their hearts to the truths of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We'd also pray that these things would raise up more laborers to the Uyghur people in Western China and to the country of Turkey and China as a whole to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Well, let's definitely be in prayer for the Muslims in China to be reached with the gospel of Christ. In other recent news, Brady Van Winkle is on the ground in Izmir, Turkey, and he gives us the details of an earthquake that hit on March 20th and is still having an impact on the communities in Turkey. Let's go now to Brady to get the details.
Brady Van Winkle coming to you from Izmir, Turkey, and on Wednesday, March the 20th, in the Denizli province of Turkey, there was a 5.7 magnitude earthquake that happened, and there'll be some pictures of that and some damage we'll be showing here. But what's crazy is this earthquake happened. It was sitting in class, and all of a sudden the beginning of the shape, we're not close, but we were close enough to feel some aftershocks of the earthquake. But it said that several people were injured. Many buildings were damaged because of it. There is even some video footage you can see. Things falling off, bricks falling from ceilings, things like that. It was a very crazy time and a moment, and really the largest earthquake in a little while that's happened in the country of Turkey. There's been several small, minor aftershocks since it, and they said they could continue for several days. But it is really crazy. Some of the people were so afraid of it, they jumped off their balcony thinking that their building was going to collapse. They weren't sure. It was one of the largest earthquakes they'd had in the area. And so people weren't sure what was going to happen. And so there was several people injured from either things falling or because they jumped off a balcony fearing for their lives. And I ask you to pray for the people of Turkey. Pray that this can be the opening of, in this area, the city is called Ajap Ayam, and pray for the people there. Pray that there'll be a labor raised up to go there, that city can be reached with the gospel. Pray that open their eyes and draw people to asking questions about what their future holds. If the worst did happen, what would happen if they would have died in this earthquake? It's an opportunity to open the communications to people about their eternal future. Let's pray for the country of Turkey. Pray for the things going on there. Pray that there's not any major aftershocks that cause more damage. Pray that the things that will be picked up quickly and easily there in that city, but also pray that God will use this to bring glory to his name and to draw people unto himself.
Well, we'll also be praying for the people affected by the earthquake and that this disaster will soften people's hearts to the gospel. Coming up after the break, we'll tell you about some recent missile strikes in Israel. All of this and more after the break.
My name is Ty Pepperdine, and I'm a church planting missionary to the country of China. I'd like to ask you to consider coming to the summit at the end of the year. It's a great time for you to refocus and think about what you can do for world evangelism. It's a time for you to be encouraged, to be with your peers, to think about and learn all that there is to be a missionary, to take the gospel to the world. It's a great time. I've enjoyed it. We've been to many summits, and each time has been a blessing, a time of learning, a time of encouragement, a time of fun, being with other people that are like-minded. So I would ask you to come and consider the summit this year.
Welcome back to the Vision News Network. I'm Noah Combs, your host. We have Sam Quinn here to tell us about recent rocket strikes in Israel. Sam, tell us about what's been going on in Israel.
Well, a rocket penetrated the Iron Wall in Israel 3 days ago and struck a house in Tel Aviv. Thank the Lord, no one was killed, but 7 people were injured, including a 12-year-old girl. Now, a friend on the scene that works with the U.S. Embassy reported that the rockets hit only 15 minutes from her gym. She said that life continued as usual that day, and she sent her children to school despite the fear. Now, the sad thing is that this is normal life in Israel for the people of Israel. And the source said that they received notice of a rocket drill after the incident. Of course, in American schools, we practice fire and school shooting drills, but in Israel, they're forced to practice fire and rocket drills. And our witness said that she and her family had to go into a bunker located in their house. And almost every house in Israel is equipped with one of these bunkers. They are supplied with water, snacks, a go bag, and other supplies. The bunker also has an air filtration system and a window with a giant steel gate in front of it. Of course, her family's bunker is nicer than many, so not all have these amenities. Unfortunately, this is life in Israel. They are constantly under attack, and we just don't always hear about it. It was remarkable that the rockets even landed because of the Iron Wall. But we know that it is not tanks, walls, and guns that protect Israel, but it is the Lord that cares for them. But, protected as they are, Israel is still in dire need of the gospel. Please pray for their salvation and for the peace of Jerusalem.
All right, well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us and updating us on the situation with Israel. So now we're going to Jason Rishel, a church planter in Burkina Faso, West Africa. He's going to tell us about the harsh weather conditions that they're going through right now and how they're doing their best to struggle through the situation.
In Burkina Faso, West Africa, 80% of the population still lives in the villages, growing their own food and relying upon these crops to survive. These crops, in return, rely upon the rain that falls during the rainy season. However, weak rains over the past few years are resulting in poor crops and a severe drought in many parts of the country, especially the northern part near the Sahara Desert. This drought is threatening the food source and water supply for millions of people. In these same northern regions, Islamic terrorists have established a foothold and are carrying out attacks on villages, military, and government entities. Because of the combined effects of the drought and terrorism, over 100,000 people have been forced to flee their villages and go to the larger cities there in Burkina Faso. But the truly great crisis in this country is that the thousands that die from the drought and the terrorist attacks will spend an eternity in hell because they have never heard of Jesus Christ.
Well, thank you, Jason, for updating us on the situation there in Burkina Faso. It is sad to hear about the horrible living conditions people are experiencing on a daily basis. But it's even more sad to hear about their lost spiritual condition. So we need to be in prayer for the people in Burkina Faso and all the countries around the world that they can be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. That wraps up today's program. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Vision News Network. As they say in Hebrew, Lehitraot. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Vision News Network. We hope you can join us next time.